So Jody's been a leader in our product organization. In fact, she was our leader of our product and owned the roadmap for many years. So building on that, somebody asked for an example where you might have realigned your roadmap from what customers are asking you for to what they actually do. Do you happen to have a product example for that?
Yeah, I have quite a few. Let me think.
Yeah.
So in this previous role, I guess I would say that we were receiving just consistent survey feedback from our CX teams, from anyone that was talking to us about needing more advanced customization and reporting. And so on the surface, that sounded like a clear roadmap signal, right? Customers said they needed more control, more flexibility, and that they needed that reporting. But as we were starting to dig deeper and understand, we started doing a lot of opportunities to meet with customers and observe what they were doing, and looking at our usage data, looking at all of the things from a small subset of our power users to begin. And we started to recognize that what they weren't really looking for was flexibility or more control, but that they just needed to have more context around what we were doing. With that in mind, of course, roadmaps are pretty well set. At Instructure, we have done actually very similar to what Melissa was just talking about. We have a short term, a midterm, and a long term, now, next, later type of roadmap. And we do that intentionally because we want to ensure that we are still delivering value in the short term, but that we can adjust as we get this feedback. And what we found was that with what we were doing with reviewing all of this information and then working with our CX team also to really triangulate that feedback, like I mentioned, we were able to reframe the problem. What they were looking for was really truly guided outcomes. Like, how can I use this data to then drive what I'm trying to do, which goes to, Sasha, you talked about enrollments, right? If I'm trying to get more enrollments, where can I see that I need to adjust? So what we were able to do then is really do that deeper discovery, and then go and do our vetting to understand, is this a bigger problem to solve that solves for a longer term outcome in a more meaningful way than some of the things that we might be doing or that were prioritized on our roadmap now. And we were able to actually adjust our roadmap to deprioritize some of the net new advanced features that folks were not asking for as much. And we were able to reinvest with more opinionated defaults that really helped them to get to that clearer success path. So thinking about the adoption that increased across the broader customer base, we were able to support requests that related to the setups that were dropped. And then we were also able to think about not just our advanced users, but also the core principle of what is it that folks need, and how can we ensure that we are driving that outcome? So
thank you, Jody. I love that example. We also have a couple of questions, and I think we have to wrap up pretty quickly here. So I'm going to address the AI questions. I think there's 2 or 3 of them around, okay, what do you use AI for? Here, I'll give you a couple of quick things. As you're talking, and this will help, someone asked the question about how do you not over-survey your customers? So AI, to me, is a game changer, because there's so many things you can use just even generalized agents for, that was stuff that would take hours and hours and days and actual conversations to go digging. So you should be looking always. You can have AI, and you can create agents that will go do this automatically. Reviewing strategic plans for any of the companies or customers you're serving. Go out and identify sentiment. Jody talked about Reddit. We started to use Reddit to go understand what students care about. And that's fascinating, because it may have nothing to do with your products, but it may have everything to do with what you're trying to, what those individuals are trying to accomplish. Like, what's their perception of certain aspects of education in our example. Or back to the shipping examples, it could be, go scour places like Reddit, and what are the top complaints about shipping or top complaints about purchasing things. There's so many ways that you can get at this. This will help you reduce the amount of reach out that you need to get to your customers, as well as get more insight that's a broader set of insight. The last thing I'll mention is as you're thinking about building health dashboards, and you can do this, there's technologies that do this. If you want to do this in a very low end, you can use simple spreadsheets that are tracking this. You can also have agents regularly populate and summarize any news, anything related to who your customer is, particularly if it's a company or organization, this is really easy, but even if it's individual humans, you can go have agents on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, deliver summaries of sentiment more broadly, and even summaries of sentiment that may be around your products out there in social media or other places. I mean, that's low-hanging fruit. You don't need tools. You can use free agents to do a lot of that in order to synthesize and not have to reach out to your customers as often. Do you have any other favorite AI tools or favorite AI approaches, Jody?
Oh my gosh, we could go on for days. So I think you answered it well. I do think just keeping in mind the responsible use, the secure use. I always like to bring it back and remind of that because there are so many tools. And really, again, thinking about outcomes here too is something that I do. If I'm going to achieve the outcome with the tool, then I'll use it. If not, I'm going to scrap it and use the ones that are making me more efficient and productive and getting to the outcome that I need for the job at hand.
That's great. Thank you. Now, I know we're supposed to be wrapping up. I don't know if we should stay and just keep answering a couple questions, and then those folks that need to leave. How do you want to do this, Sasha? Should we just wrap up?
I was taking notes as y'all were talking, so I feel like I learned a lot too. There was a lot of similarity between, I think, some of your answers and the sort of jobs to be done framework, right? And I'm a sort of a little bit of a Lean Six Sigma junkie, so the 5 whys like really hit home, like always asking those questions to dig deeper. Yeah, this was fantastic, and I'm sure we might have some follow-up questions, so I want to make sure that folks are aware. They can use our feedback email as well, which is contact@newstateu.com if you have questions for us. And then, Melissa also works with us at New State and is one of our fantastic faculty as we get ramped up here. So I am super glad to have both of you on board. And if you do have a minute for 1 or 2 more, that would be great. But I know there's a lot here, so maybe you could just pick a final one for a final thought.
Yeah, happy to do that. So a final one for a final thought. There was a question around how you close the loop with customers. And this, I think that's a really good thing to end on, because as we were talking about this, if you're going to gather customer feedback and you're going to use it, you need to thank customers for using it and acknowledge that you brought it in, or else you're missing an opportunity to create a really strong relationship with your customers. So a couple of things that you can do. One is there are systems out there that do this really nicely, that if somebody submits and you track feature requests or needs, you can then have, once that's been acknowledged, you can relate it to a product capability or a CX capability. And then once it's closed, it'll automatically say that's been addressed. I also suggest that you can have whoever's working with those customers be tracking with whatever dashboard that you're using for customer health, all of those, and then they can close those up with a nice personal touch of like, hey, I noticed this hit, I'd love to show it to you. And then the last one is, again, you can use agents to do all of this. Check out AI, because it can go ahead and map these solutions for you, and it can actually reach out and give regular automated updates to your customers, but definitely close the loop.
And Melissa, I'll just add, from the product perspective, I typically try really hard to be intentional and visible about the closure, because it is likely that we've talked to 100 or more customers about the same problem that they're trying to solve or the same need. And they're looking in all the same places for the answer. So if you can make it more visible, it makes sure that that closure gets to other folks that may not be looking for a message from their customer success manager or whomever. So, it also shows that we are listening, and their input helped to shape the outcome, which I think is so critical. So one other piece that from the product perspective, if you can be explicit about the trade-offs, that helps, so that they understand what did you have to do differently than what maybe they asked for. And then also just, making sure that it goes back to that outcome. Here's what we were trying to achieve. This is why we did it the way we did. And here's what now you are able to do.